Hi there, welcome to Boxing Deep Dive. I'm Lyndon Hosking and this is Classic Fights. This is where we go back to yesteryear and check out one of the, as the title says, classic fights of all time. I'm joined tonight again, as usual, by my co-host, Mr. Tasmania, Grant Tassie Brown. We've got boxing manager, promoter extraordinaire, Peter Maniatis, and walking encyclopedia, as well as a worldwide boxing manager in Mike Altamura. So thanks very much for joining us, guys, and going to be a big one tonight. Mike, we're on to you, and I think you've picked a great one.
Yeah, we're dialing it back to June 19, 1993. Australian Troy Waters stepping up against a guy who arguably was at least top 2-3 pound for pound at the time, but arguably was the number one pound for pound fighter in the world by virtue of having defeated Sugar Ray Leonard 2 years earlier in Terry Norris. So this bout was for the WBC Super Welterweight World Title. And the Australian Troy Waters, although highly respected, ranked number 5 in the WBC going into the bout, was a 50-1 underdog on certain bookmakers.
50-1.
50-1 underdog. This was expected to be so from an era of reeling off some terrific victories. So from beating Sugar Ray Leonard, Norris went on to then soundly defeat future multiple-time world champion Jorge Castro, won virtually every round, knocked out Maldrick Taylor in a few rounds, who had only lost to Julio Cesar Chavez, knocked out Maurice Blocker, who had moved up from welterweight. He was welterweight world champion, moved up to challenge for the world title. And Norris was working through the division like a hot knife through butter. But the thing that was entertaining about him was, and I know all you gentlemen will agree, he had sublime boxing skills, really fast-handed, good 1-2, beautiful jab. But Terry loved being a shark in water. His mentality, his mindset was to take you out of there. So there's not many guys generally high up on pound-for-pound lists that are seek and destroy minded. Terry Norris was a guy that sometimes that got him in trouble. And what we're going to see in this fight is, will it get him in trouble against a dangerous punching Australian in Troy Waters, who's very, very determined?
He was too, and Tassie, like Mike said, he was more very offensive-minded, wasn't he, Terry Norris? And sometimes it was to his own undoing. I think before this he'd been knocked out by Julian Jackson in 2 rounds. If you're ever going to lead with your chin, that's the last person you want to do it with, was Julian Jackson. But he tended to, was highly emotional, wasn't he? And as I said, sort of favoured offence over defence more than anything.
Yeah, look, Terry Norris was one of my favourite fighters. I've got a Fist magazine from back in the day, and it's got Chavez, Whittaker, Mildred Taylor, and Norris, and it says the new Fabulous 4. So that was the era of all them great fighters, and Terry Norris was up there with them all. I mean, as you said, he lost to Julian Jackson, which is losing to him was no bad thing. He was a monster puncher. He got his career back on track. He had great hand speed, power. He did have that killer instinct. He probably did stay in there too much, and he had that sort of, really wanted to get you out of there. But I mean, he was awesome, and I believe he probably should have done more than what he did, even, because I just rated him that much. But I mean, look, he was still a great fighter, and in that time, he was one of the most exciting fighters out there. And Troy Waters, a soft spot for me. I'm really glad Mike picked this fight because, I knew him, when he was commentating with Fox Sports, and he was a great guy. And I looked up to the Waters brothers growing up as a kid, and he was the pick of the 3. Really good puncher, good boxer, had the old cross-arm defence, but it worked for him. He had a good jab. I remember him he was an amateur as well, fighting in Hobart at the casino. I mean, he was a good amateur. Made a really, really good fight. I think he went over and fought. His first title was over in Italy against
Gianfranco Rossi.
Yeah, I mean, like he went to your backyard, and I rate Troy as one of probably the best light middleweight we've ever had, and I really got a bit of a dream fight between him and Daniel Gill would be amazing. But I mean, Troy was great, and we see now, how really great he was in this fight. And I only actually watched him and Simon Brown today as well, which is another big name fighter that beat Norris as well. I think they had one each that Troy took him, I think, the full distance. So, look, well picked, and love Troy, and obviously Terry Norris, one of the greats, in the last 20, 30 years.
Certainly was, and Pete Mike touched on it with just the quality of opponents that Norris had beaten. He was on a roll, wasn't he? Sugar Ray Leonard, well, obviously he beat actually John the Beast Mugabe to win the title, which is a great win at the time, but he was just on a hell of a roll.
Donald Curry as well.
Donald Curry, Sugar Ray Leonard, Meldrick Taylor. He was just on a roll, wasn't he? And Troy Waters went over there, as Mike says, 51 underdog and just met him head on.
Yeah. No, look, that was at the time when there was so much excitement in the boxing. There was so many new stars coming along. The thing I didn't like about Terry Norris was the only thing. Sometimes he'd drop a guy, and when they were on the ground, he'd give them another one to go on with. And Roy Jones Jr. got disqualified doing that. And if you get a trick, if say you're taking short odds in parlays, and you know this guy's going to clean the guy in 1 or 2, 3 rounds, and you don't need to do that. And it's just crazy when they give him the extra one, because some of them just think, this is my execute. I'll flop over now, I won't get up. And the ref's got to DQ you. He's got to do his job. You hit him when you're on the ground with a legal blow. He can't continue. That's the crazy. That was the only thing I didn't like about him. I don't like when fighters do that, because you don't need to do that. And he, you'll see that he did that quite a few times, Terry Norris. He was a bit trigger happy in that way. If you saw him on the ground, he wanted to give him an extra one. Tyson was a bit like that. A few fighters were like that, actually.
He was. Well,
Marciano didn't mind giving him one.
Well, just while we're waiting for the introductions there, I was just going to say, Mike, Troy Waters, I mean, it's pretty obvious in this that Terry Norris, this was a tune-up fight. This was not supposed to be anywhere near as tough as it was, and which obviously played into Troy Waters' hands. But Troy was actually on a bit of a roll as well. I think obviously down here in Australia, we obviously rated him, but it's pretty obvious that the Norris camp had absolutely no respect for him whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And Troy, the 2 losses, you'll see there, 20-2. The first loss was a horrific decision in South Korea, the future super middleweight world champ, Inchul Buck. After 12 rounds, split decision loss, Troy had his arm raised by Buck. Buck knew he lost. The fight with Rossi was disappointing in that Troy was actually, even though he was on the road in Italy, he was expected to shock him. And he just didn't bring his A game. It's been well documented, the problems with the Waters family, the fallout with the brothers and the father, Sess, who was, he took mind control to a whole different level. But that's another story for another day. But I think that this fight come in the midst of Troy being released from all that. So now training under Bruce Kennedy, you'll see in his corner Billy Moore, the son of the legendary Archie Moore, legendary light heavyweight champion. And Troy really at this point in time is at his absolute peak. He'd strung some great wins together and really come into this bout with nothing to lose.
Yeah, certainly did. And to go over, I mean, this is in San Diego, California, so it's right in Norris's backyard, and you can hear the crowd support once the fight gets going, that they're all for him. But as you said before, WBC Super Welterweight Title. Well, first of, I think Troy had another attempt at this later on, but this was his first crack at it. And when you're fighting someone like Terry Norris, who's the top 5 or 6 fighters pound for pound in the world at the time, it was a hell of an effort by Troy to go over there and take him on. So let's go to the action now. Just getting the introductions there, and we'll watch the whole fight. We'll go through the whole thing, and we obviously make comments during it, and then review it at the end of it. So coming up round 1, and it's fair to say you don't want to miss this one.
He'll continue to do what got him to this juncture. He'll come forward, use pressure, and look to get Waters going backwards. Round 1 scheduled for 12 for the WBC Super Welterweight Championship. Norris said he's really been working out hard of late. Now bench presses 300.
Probably about here I was thinking, I think Troy's in a bit of trouble. He's just standing upright.
Troy was always a notorious slow starter.
It's like and lion is waiting there waiting for his prey, because he's going to sit there, Terry's going to counter, he's going to work him. The kid's got a reasonable defense from what I understand, a good chin, but Terry
so sharp, wasn't he, Norris?
He just looks like he's trying to walk through. Now this, what he's got to do, Troy, he's got to put some hurt on. He's got to land something hard. He can punch, there's no question about it. You look at his knockout record, he's got to land.
He had a good jab though, didn't he, Waters?
Yeah, good left jab. I mean, stress, no matter what people say about him, he taught him the good old school way of English boxing. Well defense, a good left jab. Fundamentals were good.
And there's that punch to the head, Pete.
Yeah, so Troy wants to roll over now and say I'm concussed. What do you do as a referee?
Just didn't have that in his DNA though, did he?
No, but I'm saying if you did, what do you do as a referee?
So he took a point off him here.
Qualified twice with the same guy.
3 times career total. 3 big kills, but yeah, twice against Lewis Santana.
Yeah. So he's taken a point off, so that obviously negates the knockdown. I mean, what are we, about a minute into the fight?
Yep. At this stage, you're thinking it's going to be an early night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Terry's in a bad mood and he's taking it out all on Troy Waters.
As the commentators, obviously pretty biased, but they obviously don't know much about Troy either.
Yeah, but it's hard when you see a new guy coming from overseas. You know nothing about him. The chemistry's always with a house fighter.
Yeah.
As a commentator.
And keep in mind, this was Norris's first bout of the 4-fight deal under new promoter Don King at the time as well. So
Okay.
you know who the A-side is.
Yeah.
Troy doesn't have anything to keep Terry off.
That's why you got to give credit to Troy, don't you, for going over there in his backyard.
You're basically a dead man.
It is target practice for Terry Norris. Terry Norris.
I think when you see Troy starting to adapt a bit to the speed and get his counter punches with him in play.
This kid's doing on the ropes. Troy Waters has got to get a better game plan.
The good thing about this was Troy wasn't deer in headlights. He was trying to win the fight. He was always throwing bombs back. If he had just been passive, catching and collecting, and just got blown away, you don't get invited back. That's why he got invited back, because he's still swinging from the fences when he knows his fire's coming right at him.
From Norris makes it a 9-8 round. And you take a point.
You got to give Troy credit here. Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I like here that he's trying to pick his spot. He's waiting for Norris to throw and then to catch him out.
So I was going to say, you've got to give Troy credit because he hasn't lost his composure. He's been knocked down, he's been battered from pillar to post, but he's got the guard up, he's picking his shots.
Yeah.
And you can see Norris is like, geez, I think I've almost punched myself out.
Was Troy Waters.
I think that the last 30 seconds of this round is very encouraging for Troy. If you're in his corner, you would have taken a bit of stock in it.
I was going to say, Tassie, the knockdown was obviously negated by the point being deducted from Norris, and it almost could make a case in the last minute or so with what happened that Troy could almost won the round.
Yeah, he came back a bit, I guess, but I still give the round to Terry. I think he landed the better work. Some of those uppercuts, I wish Troy wasn't leaving his head. You know, I wish he got it off centre a bit more. A few uppercuts he landed, but I mean, look, he finished good considering he looked like he was going to be out in the first minute. So yeah.
But yeah, I agree. He obviously didn't win the round, but you would have thought he'd at least go back to the corner and go, okay, I've got past that first round. This guy always comes out hard, and I've got through it, and I've started to actually land some shots at the end of the round. So you know, I've got a little bit of confidence back.
Definitely.
Look at that shot in the back. Oof.
So that's just shocking. Hate to see that.
Just a blatant.
He had a bad habit for that.
Just a blatant shot to the head. Should have been disqualified.
Against a fighter named Joseph Walker in 1987. Yes.
He was a big light middleweight, wasn't he, Pete?
Also against Donald Curry and
Yeah, he was. And beautifully balanced. He's got everything in a fighter, hasn't he?
Yeah, and he actually come in 2 pounds under the limit. So what's that, about 69 kilos? So that's a big guy for 69 kilos.
Yeah, they were talking at one stage, they were talking about him trying to fight Julio at 150 pounds.
He's demonstrating a pretty good chin.
Well, got that. Gives him one as he goes down as well.
Look how wobbly
He's hurt too.
Yeah, he staggered into the ropes.
That was a Katsitas Marquez moment, wasn't it? Where you just think, can he finish him now and they go into greatness? What happens now?
Well, the thing too is you see Norris, instead of trying to get his composure back, he just goes after him even more with his chin up in the air and hands down, and he's just asking for trouble.
That's the problem with him. That's probably why he didn't finish up going on, becoming an all-time great. Because you know, and you got to make sure you got a good chin if you're going to do that. And I mean, yeah.
And that was probably one of his weaknesses, wasn't it, Mike? He didn't have the greatest chin.
No, I think because of how available he left himself defensively. I think his chin would have been okay if he protected it a bit.
Yeah, I suppose anyone's going to have a pretty ordinary chin if you stick it out there to be hit, aren't they?
I mean, you can see even here with Troy, make no mistake, he's a little bamboozled still by the speed and that, but he's trying to set a trap to land the big shot again, knowing he can land.
He's probably got him embarrassed as well in his hometown. And I'll tell you what.
See, he's trying to line something up.
When you look at the fight, he's landing bombs. And how many body shots has Terry Norris tried to land? Waters is open to the body, but he just wants to knock his head off.
But look at Troy though, just keeps coming back. I mean, at this stage you're probably hoping it's going to be another Harding-Andrews situation, but the problem is it's only round 2. He's taken a lot of punishment.
I watched this fight again today. Troy did hit Terry Lowe a fair few times in this fight.
That's permitted. It's okay. The deck was stacked against us enough. It's allowed.
Yeah.
But if you would have heard before, 30 Pacheco say, if Waters would have won this fight, it's the upset of the decade. That's how much his chances were dismissed by the mainstream media.
Oh, nice right hand.
See, that's arguably the second best shot of the round. Right?
The glamour with the hammer.
That's it, mate. That's it.
So that's round 2 down. I think everyone there's probably got their money's worth already, haven't they, Pete?
Yeah, what a round that was. It could have been round of the year. I think it was voted one.
I think it was. Yeah, it was. Ring Magazine.
Yeah, was it nominated, was it?
Yeah, it won.
Yeah, it was.
The Ring Magazine, yeah.
Oh, won it.
Yeah.
Wow.
With good reason.
What an Aussie legend, mate. I'm glad you picked it, Mike, because God rest his soul. What a beautiful, beautiful man and what a champion he was, Troy Waters.
Look at that body shot and the bang right on the top. Like, that's a beautiful combination. Almost gave Terry one.
He gave him one back as well.
So round 3 coming up.
The thing is with Troy, all his career losses were the world champions. You don't. In Australia, he dismantled everybody he faced. There was no controversy, no controversial decisions, nothing. He annihilated everyone in his path. He was a class fighter.
And strangely, Norris probably suited him a little bit more than what Rossi did when he had his other title shot, because he just was all wrong for Troy, wasn't he? He was quick, he had good movement, moved a lot, where Norris, even though he had the speed, he just stood right in front of you.
Yeah, Terry after.
In round 3, they both come up boxing.
Yeah.
I remember Norris after this got blown away by Brown, and then Troy Waters fought Brown. It was a majority decision. I thought Troy just about won that
Yeah, he's
fight.
unlucky, wasn't he?
And that parlayed into Felix Trinidad for Norris, and he just got blasted out. That was ever going to happen. There was not much left in the tank to fight someone like Trinidad.
Still punching. Just tough.
Without giving too many spoilers, now the eye starts to bother him a bit.
A body shot,
The
was it?
bombs that he's been copying, it's hard to keep coming back. It's just amazing heart.
It's even that the left eye starting to swell.
Yeah, bad cut.
But geez, Tassie, he epitomised the Aussie spirit, didn't he? I mean, you thought Jeff Harding against Andrews was a hell of an effort, even though it's only went 3 rounds. Jeez.
100%, mate. I mean, at this time, our reputation was Jeff Fennick and Jeff Harding, and Troy kept that Aussie theme going of just being tough men.
Well, these are the guys that have given Aussies a reputation. They've got international now, haven't they? Just amazing, tough guys.
Yeah. And Concedies and that continue to...
Yeah, Concedies, yeah.
Yeah, look at that though. Look at that. Drop, cut, run straight to Norris to get back into it.
Yeah.
He's still trying to time him in between the shots. He's just starting to get a little outclassed.
The thing is, he's still in the fight, you know. I mean, he's just been knocked down, but he's look, you can see he's starting to get his range. He's landing shots. Norris is starting to wind down. He's in the fight. But yeah, the punishment. What's that? 20 seconds to go.
Norris won't let him off the hook.
No.
Norris isn't going to just let him settle into the fight. You could just see he's saying, you know, I'm going to keep this style till you go down.
He keeps coming back and fighting. His face is falling apart. As Bobby said at the beginning, this is what it looks like in 5 rounds. His face will fall apart. Well, it is. It's coming.
End of round 3. Who's that in his corner there, Mike?
That is that Ern McQuillan Jr. and that's Bruce Kennedy's the lead trainer in the corner.
And his brother Guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, Guy was there. Yeah, look, he's just too banged up.
Yeah. I think you look at him now, you would never no quit him whatsoever, but you could forgive him for saying, look, I've come here, I've given my all, that's enough. I don't think there was a lot of arguments.
Yeah, I think he was starting to get really dented at the end of that round. Cuts on both eyes, fatigue. You know, I think that we're going to see coming up right here. I think it's the right, smart, educated decision.
Yeah.
Better shape because he wasn't in that kind of trouble. It was like an off balance. He got hit in midair. But his face is coming apart, Bobby, under both eyes.
Yeah, so that's Ern McQuillan in the ring working on the cut, and that's Bruce Kennedy on the side.
And that was it. So I think it didn't actually show it at the end there, but so they stopped the fight at the end of the 3rd round. And look, as I said, you cannot begrudge anything from pulling the pin out that last round because given his all, he'd been dropped twice, cut, banged up. They made the right call.
It was good to see Troy also get fights after that. He got invited back on a big stage. He fought Brown, he fought Trinidad.
Yeah.
Didn't end just there. He got his rewards back and he would have got his paydays. So it was good that the American...
as well, Mike?
Yeah, so they brought him back a few months after that at the Great Western Forum, Inglewood, California, and he soundly defeated Robert Wandila of Kenya, 1988 Olympic gold medalist. And then that's essentially what set him up. That acted as a bridging fight. They were actually talking about the rematch with Norris, and then, of course, Simon Brown caused the shock KO for Norris, so Brown's first defense was against Troy Waters. And like Pete alluded to before, 12-round majority decision, he was in that fight every single step of the way.
Yeah, I watched it today.
Yeah, well, Pete, the round 2 was voted Ring Magazine Round of the Year. So there's obviously no surprises there, just like, some of the other fights we've seen. Who was the classic fight last week that we saw? That was...
Barrera Morales.
Yeah, I was going to say,
round 5.
Yeah, round 5, that's right.
Before
so this
that was
one...
Hearns Hagler.
Yeah, and this round was actually, I think, almost probably the best of all of them.
Hey, Peter, can you imagine when Hearns versus Norris at light middleweight? Hearns beats him, but it'd be fireworks from the first punch, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Hearns Norris at light middleweight.
So after this fight, Norris, as you said, lost the title to Luis Santana twice by disqualification, and then regained it in the 3rd fight.
Round twice.
Yeah, and then knocked him out in the 2nd round in the 3rd fight. Made 6 defences, including unifying the IBF portion of it, and then lost later in his career to Keith Mullings, and then retired in 1998. And Waters obviously went on to fight Simon Brown as well for the WBC title that he took from Norris in 94. Lost to Felix Trinidad in 97. Retired in 98, and as everyone knows, unfortunately, tragically passed away from leukemia in 2018, age 53. So, but definitely an icon of the sport, wasn't he?
Should have won a world title. Should have won a world title.
He should have. He just
did
the wrong era.
Not to have won a world title. He just, he definitely deserved to win it. He kind of froze up with Rossi.
Yeah.
I don't know. He was like deer in headlights. He had a lot more to give, but Rossi was very cagey in that fight.
Rossi was a very, very good fighter. Very, very good fighter.
Very cagey.
He made a lot of fighters look pretty ordinary. And Rozzy, especially he fought him in Italy as well. It was always going to be a tough thing.
Yeah.
That's why you got to take.
I remember watching it live. We went to a pub and watched that one live.
It was like 7 o'clock in the
Back
morning.
in the
I
day.
remember at the pub itself, pre the Foxtel days. But I mean, obviously he passed away at age 53 in 2018. But just an absolute icon of the sport. When you think that he went to Italy to fight Rozzy in his backyard, went to Norris's backyard to fight him over there when he was one of the hottest fighters in the world, and then obviously beat Simon Brown, who beat Terry Norris, and Felix Trinidad as well, who was pretty much near the peak of his powers as well. So you just got to give him so much credit, Mike.
Fighting family as well, Dean Waters and Troy Waters as well. All won Australian
and
titles.
The thing is, look, Troy was always a great ambassador for Australian boxing, even post-career as a commentator. You guys know a lot of commentators, ex-fighters, you see them, they secure gigs and they start to push their own agendas. Troy always brought a very positive energy to that sphere, and it's
I agree.
sad. It's so sad that we lost him so young because he could have contributed so much more to future generations of the sport.
No.
Yeah.
Troy reminded me of Sean O'Grady. He reminded me of Sean O'Grady when he commentated. He was just so neutral and fair and informative.
I have him as probably our best light middleweight of all time in Australia. I think Sharky Raymond might have been a light middleweight, and but I think Troy, given his resume, I think he goes down as our best light middle. And a bit of trivia too, if you guys know about Terry Norris, you know that he was a champion baseball player.
No, I didn't know that.
Made the major leagues. Yeah, I think there was something happened. Might have been some racism, but he was a gun baseball player.
No, well, definitely a gun fighter. That's for sure. But no, great choice this week, Mike. It's back around to me next week, and the fight I'm going to revisit or go back to is the 1990 junior welterweight world title fight between Julio Cesar Chavez and Meldrick Taylor. So that's the one we're going to revisit.
Wow, Richard Steele.
So there's a lot to discuss in that one, and I'm sure we'll have lots of different views. But so looking forward to that one. But great choice this week, Mike, and look forward to all catching up again next week.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.